Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabil Nabella bin Rasidi and my measure number 067917. And today I'm going to talk about the content, causes and impact of Cold War to the global constellation. The Cold Conflict was not a regular war in the conventional sense. It was a 4-decade political, intellectual and economic battle between the United States and the Soviet Union that affected the culture of nearly every nation on the planet. The Cold War did occasionally turn hot as the major players used military force to preserve their interests abroad and influence events in developing countries. However, for the most part, the era was defined by strong word and high tension rather than open combat. By 1970s, the tension in the Cold War had begun to ease. The two sides initiated strategic arms limitation talks, which resulted in certain limit on nuclear warhead development. The Soviet Union was formally dissolved in 1991 as its member states gained independence and the Cold War had finally ended. The causes. Some historians have highlighted various causes and explanations for the onset of the Cold War, including ideological confrontation between the US and Soviet Union, the introduction of nuclear weapons, and the Berlin crisis. Firstly, the differences in ideologies. The United States and Soviet Union represented two competing political systems. The main distinctions were that the Soviet Union was a communist country headed by a dictator who prioritized state needs over personal human rights, whereas the United States was a capitalist democracy that valued personal freedom and hated communism. This marked the beginning of the Cold War. This ideological disagreement, along with the countries involved hating one another historically, resulted in the change of events that led to the alliance's collapse and converted the war's friends into enemies. Next, moving forward to US atomic bombs. After being invaded twice in 20 centuries, the Soviet Union was extremely worried about its security. America then developed and utilized the atomic bombs against Japan in 1945, and the Soviet Union was desperate to develop its own. Both Soviet Union and United States built massive arsenal of intercontinental ballistic missiles (ICBMs), and the United States tested a hydrogen bomb in 1952, and the Soviet Union followed suit in November 1955. As the security was reinforced, military alliances were formed. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization (NATO) was established in April 1949, and the Soviets founded the Warsaw Pact in response. Last but not least, the Berlin crisis. Following World War II, Germany was divided into 4 occupational zones. According to Yalta and Potsdam conferences, the zones were assigned to the United States, United Kingdom, France and Soviet Union. East Germany communist government controlled and stopped its citizens from escaping to the west in 1950s. Stalin then commanded the construction of fences and barriers to prevent East Berliners from migrating. The Berlin blockage lasted about 20 days, and one was the Cold War major issues. The Soviet Union obstructed Allied access to the West Berlin, resulting in food, medication and fuel shortage. The United States reacted with the Berlin airlift, in which hundreds of tons of supply were delivered. Next, the impacts. First, the space exploration. The Cold War also resulted in technical competition between the Soviet Union and United States as the two countries competed for space dominance. On January 1, 1958, the United States Army launched Explorer 1 into space. This satellite was created by Wernher von Braun, a visionary in contemporary rocket technology, and it was the trigger for the establishment of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration (NASA). Despite the launch of the American satellite, the Soviets maintained their advantage, launching the first manned space mission in April 1961. However, Neil Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon's surface 8 years later. The space race highlighted the time of the Cold War in which both Soviet Union and United States seek to enhance civilian morale by showcasing their scientific accomplishments. Lastly, the fall of the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall was built in 1961 by the Communist government of German Democratic Republic to prevent the movement of East German migrants into the democratic West Germany. The Berlin Wall, a prominent symbol of communism around the globe, was destroyed in November 1989 by Berlin citizens who were granted freedom to cross the border on November 9, 1989. Hence, East and West Germany reunified on October 3, 1990. Following this event, the Cold War ground to a standstill, eventually ending with the fall of communism in 1991. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.